right now. We can always flip that back, right? But then we can see the time frame and then that monthly view. So I'm going to leave it monthly. And then what I'll do is I'll start to play with this just a little bit as far as our criteria at the top and then what statistics we want to view for that. So let's take a basic step first. Let's choose a specific area. So if I click right here where it says entire MLS, I want stats for, now you can pick counties, cities, or zip codes, and then we'll talk in a little bit about customizing an area if you want to draw one out on the map. So within 2 miles of downtown Nashville, you can get that type of statistics as well. You just have to draw it, right? So at the first look at this, it's just a basic city, county, or zip code. So I'm going to start typing in whichever one I want. Let's say maybe it is the city of Nolensville. Well, I don't know the zip code for that, so I'm just going to start typing it in. Type in NOL and I pick Nolensville. If I want to compare Nolensville to Brentwood and kind of see the differences, compare and contrast those two, I have another option to add a tab here. So I'm going to choose add area. Click there, and if I wanted 37027, I know that zip code, right? Either way you fill it in, it doesn't all have to be the same city. It can be a mix of city, zip code, or county that you want to compare here. Sometimes maybe it's, right, Nolensville is in Williamson or Davidson, so I want to pick a certain side of that and see what is the percentage of activity in Nolensville versus the entire county. So that may be a reason, sorry, that you would break it down that way to see the entire county, then maybe the city within the county. But you can see here, it is color coded, the folder right up here with orange and blue, which would correspond to the lines on the chart below. Right. If I want to get rid of one, just simply click the X to the right of it, and you're now back to that particular city or zip code that you selected. Right now, if I want to see what's going on in the single family category of Nolensville, I simply just choose that with property type. You'll notice price ranges that came in. These are customized to the data that InfoSparks has been given from Realtracs. So it's basically giving you those ranges of the data. Right now, these pull up weird price ranges. I'm not sure why that is. Again, I think it's just based on the data that they're receiving from us. But here's where you may want to customize that. So maybe I want to make this 415 or less. Maybe I want to make this, right, 415 to 475. So you can customize those if you would like to. Right now, also, as you start to look at the different property types and bedrooms, bathrooms, you'll notice as I pick single family, it grayed out that circle. And that's the only one it's looking at. But if I want to combine single family and townhouse in the same line, I just simply choose the bubble again. So you can see there, I'm now including both of those property classes in this one line that I have. Okay. Click it again to remove that, back to just single family results here. All right, now the other thing that you will see with this criteria is you have what they call breakout arrows. The breakout arrows are very beneficial, but you almost have to know why you'd want to use those. In this case, those breakout arrows would give me a line right here for each individual property type. So instead of just saying, well, let me see single family now, I'm going to take that one out. Okay, let me see townhouses. If I would like to compare each of those with an individual line, that's what the breakout arrows are for. So now if I hit that, I'm seeing one line, seeing one line for every property class. All right. So that helps me kind of break those out and say, what is the single family price compared to the townhouse price compared to the condo price? Another situation or scenario for that may be, let's go back to price range, but let's switch this down here at the bottom because Rebecca had mentioned maybe days on market. If I had a situation where I'm curious about days on market for different price ranges. So is the $1 million market moving quickly? Is the $500,000 market moving quickly? Where are we at in this particular market? I can customize these price ranges to get the effect that I need here. So I'll customize that. And I'll start out pretty basic here with you. Let's say maybe even 500,000 to begin with, and then we can go to, let's just say 599. And then we can go to 600. You guys are probably getting the hang of that. $699. So if I start to break those down in different price points, and they don't have to be 100,000 increments, you can put them 25,000. So if it's a pricing strategy with your clients that you're trying to figure out, should we be at 650? Should we be at 625? Just set up those different price points, right, as you set this up. So I'm going to make this even out so it doesn't look crazy. All right. So now once I click done, right, I see my price points. If I want to know days on market between this price point and this price point and this price point, I'm going to switch to days on market here at the bottom. And then I'll choose my breakout arrows. So you now see what's the different days on market for each price range. And that's listed here to the right as well. So you can see that for the month of June, what it looked like. All right. So in this case, it looked like that $500,000 range was the hot spot, right? That's my hot point right there. Otherwise, I'm sitting on the market. Again, not too bad, right? But we're sitting on the market a little bit longer in the other price ranges.
So Bobby, Joe, quick question. So let's say I want to clean that up just a little bit. I would just click on the grayed in circle to remove any of those that I don't want. Is that correct?
Right. So if I didn't want all of them in there, or I didn't want that 400, yeah, just click on that grayed circle. And now I'm just seeing the lines for the ones I have selected. Yay. Good question. All right. Everybody else okay with that? Good as we're going along here. Okay. All right. So I will remove those breakout arrows and then we'll take out our price range selections there. All right, now let's take a look as we go right down here below and let's focus on some additional statistical situations. So we pretty much know what sales price is, right? Again, we can choose median and average, whichever one I prefer to go by. You all know that if you remember back to fifth grade, right? Are you smarter than a fifth grader, right? And we probably learned this prior to fifth grade, but average can be skewed. So if you had one property in that Nolensville area that closed at $20 million, and that is not a normal thing, then that $20 million property just made the average bump up just a little bit higher than it maybe normally would. Same thing on the other spectrum. If something closed for $100,000 and that's not the norm, then my average number is going to be down a little bit more. So median, there's no mathematics to it at all. It's almost just like it's a pin the tail on the donkey situation, saying it's the very middle number, pick it, right? That one. So there's not really any mathematics behind it. It's just basically saying that the same amount of properties sold under this number that sold over this number. So it's just the middle ground. If you think about it, that number can't be skewed necessarily unless more properties sold for a higher amount versus a lower amount, or vice versa. So median people like to use if we're talking about really a broad area where we could have those random things occur. So city, zip code, county, you may have that one wild card that's skewing the average. So people like to use median for that. If I'm focused more on an area that I'm drawing out, maybe it's a subdivision, it's a smaller group of properties, then average is probably going to be okay, or you'll notice that your median, your average are very similar and they're not too different. So your choice here, I would say it's based on your area that you pick and the properties that are included there. All right, the next option here at the bottom is new listings. So with new listings, we're seeing how many new listings came on the market in this month. So we can see here that our inventory is going up. So for June, we had more than May and so far back. All right. Then we're also seeing homes for sale. Now this one's pretty interesting. I had to study a little bit to understand this one when I look at homes for sale. So new listings is how many properties came on the market in that month. Homes for sale is taking the last day of the month and saying how many homes were left, how many homes were available on the last day of the month. All right, and then we see pending sales. So pending sales is more of that prediction of what is going to happen in July. Okay. So I can see here, if June had 66 pending sales, I know that July should have or include at least 66 closings, right? So if I look at closed sales, where are we on target with those closed sales looking into June and making that prediction?
And Bobby Joe, do you mind if I just interject really quickly how important that information on specifically on the number of homes sold in a month and the number of homes for sale in the market, that's key for us in being able to calculate absorption rate. And we can talk about that more after on a different in the after party or whatever.
Yes.
I don't want to derail you, but I just wanted to point that out, why those two stats are very important.
And
Yes, and we'll
Bobby
get to
Joe,
some.
there's one more we would love to have. We can get it through Trend Graphics, but we would love to be able to get it from Realtracs, is the number of price reductions or price changes, not price reductions. You could have gone up theoretically. So, but we'd love to have that stat as well.
Okay, so
How
that's
many price
something that,
reductions in a month or during a certain time frame?
okay. Yeah, let me see, let me think about that one a little bit as we go through here. Couple of things that we are able to do with that on this particular step, but I'm wondering if hot sheets may help us out there, but I'm thinking hot sheets only lets us.
Well,
go
it'll
back
tell
down.
you, I can look for price reductions, but you know, it's 7 days. It's not
7
giving
days.
me, all I want is a percentage. I don't want a list of price reductions. I want what percentage of active listings have had a price change in the last 10 days, 30 days, what have you.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me think more on that one and see if there's a way that we can calculate that for you. All right. We talked a little bit about days on market and how you can utilize that. Again, median and average choices there. Months supply. So Rebecca, that kind of goes back to what you're talking about with absorption rate as well. So if I choose that month's supply option, then we know that we can kind of gauge here how much inventory is available at this point. So if I look at that number where it says in Nolansville, we've got 1.5 months supply. So 1.5 months, if the market stopped at the end of June, no more properties were listed, nothing else happened, then we've got a month and a half to go through that inventory that is available in June, right, which is not a lot. So at this point, when we see that low month supply, we are in the seller's market. You'll hear those terms. So the seller's driving it at that point. If we're in something like an 8-month supply, then we are in that buyer's market. All right. All right, now you're going to see here too, what percentage of the list price are properties selling for? So if I were to choose this option, we'll notice here, and I'm going to choose average because I do want to see how that number is skewed, right? So as far as when we talk about price changes, right, I can see that properties are closing at almost 102% of what they are listing for, right? So we know, again, seller's market, then properties, those closed prices are higher than the list price. This is very helpful to educate your buyers on what they may have to offer on properties out there. Now we can also see, right, so that was percentage of list price. Now that's if everything sold as what it originally listed for. So if I list it for $100,000 and it sells for 102, then we know again that that's 2% over. But if it started at 100,000 and I dropped it to 98,000, what is the percentage of the 100,000 sales price now? Not based on the day that it sold, right? So this percentage of list price is based on the day that it sells, regardless of what I started out at. Okay. So if I change that to percentage of original list price, now it doesn't matter if I drop the price over time, it's still focusing on that original $100,000 that I listed for. And again, in today's market, that hasn't changed much, right? Kind of the same thing, not a whole lot of price changes that have happened so far. We are noticing some of those happening currently, but you'll notice original list price is pretty much the same as the list price in previous months. right? Then we can see what were those original prices versus the sales prices. Right? And then we can also calculate that price per square foot, median and average, and then a total dollar volume in that area. It's pretty amazing too to see what all has happened in those areas. And if you could just get a little chunk of each of those, it would be great. All right. So does that make sense in how you select what you want at the bottom, changing time frames maybe here at the top, how far back, whether you like the line or the bar chart, different views there. Most importantly, don't forget your time frame here, your data points. Is that a month by month, the exact month activity, or did you want a quarterly data point there or a yearly data point there? Right. Now you can also share these. So a lot of times we're wanting to share these on our blogs, on our social media posts. So in that case, if I would like to take this chart or this graph right here and post it into social media and maybe pin it at the top of my Facebook page, then you can hit share and you'll have options here. Now there's a couple of things at the top. One is step one, which says, do you want a static or a live chart? So static is what you see is what you get. If I'm starting to reference prices, the percentage of change month over month, I need a static report. Otherwise, if I just want to leave that pinned and it just keep up with the market as it goes, and I don't want to have to maintain this report. I don't ever want to have to go back and change my verbiage. I don't want to have to update the report when next month rolls around. Then maybe you want a live chart that just changes with time. And then we can see here those options of sharing. So are we sharing via PDF document? Are we sharing, again, social media? That's what's selected. That's what's most common. So I'm going to leave social media selected, right? I'm going to hit share, and then it gives me this link. Now I can take this link and copy and paste it into Facebook, but here's what I think is the easiest way to go about this one. You'll see the link below that says view in new window. And if I open that up, it's going to go ahead and show me or display what it would look like on my social media post right now. Right? We can see it's interactive as I hover, kind of tells me month by month. Same thing with that line chart. If I had that, we can see those percentages of changes, but right here are my little widgets. If I want to post it on Facebook, just click that Facebook widget right now. It logs me in, and then I can post, pin, whatever I want to do with that. There's Twitter, right? Email options. See it here. So I like these little widgets. It just makes life easier, logs you in automatically. Does that make sense to you? Sharing on social media. Okay. All right. So that's your share option. And naturally you've got print too, if you'd like to print it out. Now, when I share it, you do want to be sure that you have updated all your profile information. You've added your photo, so it is branded to you. You'll notice right up here at the top where you have the profile option. So here's where you can load your photo in. It doesn't pull all of this over from Realtracs. So be sure that you are adding your photo. It does pull your contact information, but you certainly have the opportunity to change that or update, add anything you want to there. So that's important. All right. All right, so let's move to, we had talked about here in that Info Sparks tab at the top where it would show you, kind of show you how it would display your charts and your graphs, right? This is where we started. Now, where I picked a city or I picked a zip code, those were easy. They're already in the list, counties there too. But if I wanted to customize my area and more build out the subdivision, build out maybe 2 miles from downtown Nashville, that's where you want to go right up here in your main toolbar to my areas. And you can get those statistics for anything that you draw on the map. So maybe it's Germantown, maybe it's Salem Town, maybe it's downtown Nashville. I mentioned that 2 miles away. So as I focus in on the map, you're going to have your draw tools here at the top. Right now I can zoom in and out of this map. If you try what I've tried in the past, I've tried to zoom in using the roller on my mouse. And when I do, it gives me this message that says, hey, you got to hold down your control key to make that happen, right? So all I'll do is hold down the control, now use the roller, it's zooming in to particular areas there on that map. If you use the plus and the minus, you don't have to hold down your control key. So whatever works best for you there. All right, now let's say I focused in on this area that I want statistics for. I just need to draw it, right? So as I look at the top, again, I'm going to use the polygon option, but just know that that circle is your radius distance away from a certain point. I'm going to use the polygon today to just do based on maybe streets, highways. All right. I'll click that. And then what you'll notice here is I move the mouse on top of the map. Where I see that little plus sign, that's going to allow me to set a pin. And when I set that pin, I just click. I'm not really dragging, I'm just clicking and then letting go. And now see that pink line wherever I want that to create a border. So if it's right here along that street, I'm going to click again when I get to Rosa Parks. Right? And you're seeing where it's just kind of, as I click, it's setting a pin. So in this case, I'm really just tracing or outlining those borders. Right? And then when I get back to the beginning, I double click. And what I'm noticing here is it's highlighting the area I want stats for. If I messed up, you see the dots where you can take those and pull them out a little bit. So you can edit that as you go. But once you've got it to a point where you say, this is the area I need statistics for, right? Then you're going to go right up here at the top. You'll click save. Now, when you hit save, it says, give it a name. And then you save. Right, whoops, I already have a name called downtown. All right, so I'll save that. All right, now what you're going to notice here is it tells you your area. There are 42 listings that are going to give you some statistics in that area that you've created. I hit this link where it says see stats, and that pops me right back. Now it's taken away Nolensville, anything that I was previously working on, and it's now saying, all right, here are your statistics for those 42 listings in that downtown area that you created. Right, so even if that was your sales price, your days on market, you're now more focused in on a particular area. Okay. Everybody good with that?
And Bobby Joe, is there a limit to the number of unique searches you can create and save?
I have not hit a limit yet. I haven't heard from InfoSparks that there is a limit of how many that you can save, but that brings me to my next point, Rebecca, is how do I find them once I've created them without having to go back to my areas? So if you know that you've created a particular area and you want to get back to it, maybe it was the Germantown that I created last month, I just want to keep up with that one. So right here where you choose to add an area, and I'm just going to hit that menu down. And now instead of the city or the county or the zip code, I'll pick here my areas. And that's all of the ones that I have customized and created. So I could choose 2 miles, and there we can see it. Who knows what I've created here in these. All right. So they're all saved in that list. It's just based on how you want to search. You could also get to drawing out an area from here. You'll see the pin, little pencil at the bottom where I can draw an area and it will just pop me to my areas. All right. So I think that's pretty fun, just kind of being able to customize, get your own specific statistics for those areas. But also, let me show you one other thing about InfoSparks before we get out of here, and I'll move into kind of a different section of seeing today, what's happening today, and how does it compare to what happened last month and the month before. But if you look right up at the top, you're going to see something called Fast Stats. What this will do is it will give you a printed report that will put all of these statistics on one page, seeing that year over year change. So instead of having to click here, okay, new listings, okay, homes for sale, and start writing things down, you could just go to Fast Stats, and that's going to put everything on the same page for you. However, Fast Stats is going to be limited to just county, city. All right. So if I look here, it's showing me the map. I can choose on whatever county I need. So let's say I want Williamson County, and then you'll notice where you have certain cities that you can pick, or you could choose the entire county. Right, so if I wanted statistics on Franklin specifically, I'll choose that. And there again, we have all of those, what they call metrics at the bottom of the page, where you could choose those different statistics. And then you're seeing 2021 versus 2022 for the previous month. And that percentage of change year over year.
And Bobby Joe, so this is through June 2022. Approximately when in the month does it, in the next month, would it update?
All right, so that is a great question, Rebecca, depending on where you're at that point. So if I'm on the original graph page, it updates that on August 1st for July, right? Now, what we have to consider there is August 1st, we're still pretty volatile, right? Things can still change about that. So you want to use caution not to post anything on the first of the month for the previous month, because things are going to change with those numbers. Think about if I closed a property out, right? I got a contract on June 30th. Well, I may not get that closing in the system until July 2nd, right? So if that's the case, between those first few days of the month, we're going to see some shifts in those numbers, not very solid. So in that case, if you're ever representing numbers and figures on a post, don't get those within the first 5 to 7 days of a month. Right now, this chart right here, I believe this one, InfoSparks has said, is updated on the 7th of the month for the previous month's numbers. So anything, again, go ahead.
You said you think InfoSparks said that, is that on here somewhere?
It may be in there. I'll check their FAQs and see if it's in there. That's just what they had relayed over to us, is that it was 7 days out.
Awesome.
But they
Okay, cool.
naturally they'll update those headers, but I'll see if it's in their FAQ when they update this. But again, that
So-
kind of goes back to publishing something. They don't want to publish something and have to go back and update it or the numbers be wrong. So they give it some time.
Right. So if you were to, is it fair to say if you were to run a report on, let's just say August 1st, it would be close enough to horseshoes, but not enough to bet the farm on?
Right. I like the statement. Yes. All right. All right, so I'm going to get back to kind of that InfoSparks section here, where if we go back to this InfoSparks piece, again, this is the chart that I was saying, it will update on August the 1st, right, for July numbers, but it will continue to change as the days go on. Now, let me see here at the top, user manual and FAQ. Quick facts, it may be under. Yeah, it's still not saying that as far as fast stats. I was looking for something here in fast stats that it may tell me when they update it, but time calculations. Nope, that's your rolling. All right, well, I don't want to spend too much time just going through that, trying to pin peck for it. When is that number? But just think around the 5 to 7 day time frame, or when those printed numbers are updated.
Rebecca, just for reference point, Realtracs sends those stats to the boards on the 7th. So
Yes.
the quote official stats that you see each month from Realtracs are based on stats they pulled on the 7th of the following month.
Yes.
And it's always the 7th. They don't roll to Monday if the 7th falls on Sunday. It's always the 7th.
Somebody's working on the 7th.
Always this. Just know it's always the 7th.
Yes. All right. Good info. All right. What kind of questions do you have for me on this third-party InfoSparks tool? Everybody good with that one so far before we kind of venture out of this?
And if you have any questions, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, and in the middle of something, please feel free to throw it in the chat, and we'll get Bobby Joe to address it when she takes a breath. But if anybody has anything now, please just unmute and speak up.
Yes. All right. So again, when we see these types of reports, it is for the previous month's data. So what we would like to see is, how is our market changing just in the last 2 weeks, just in the last day? Now, if we take a look through InfoSparks, this third-party tool, the way they compile this is because they get our data. We send them our data. It's the raw data. They just put a pretty stamp on it. We call this lipstick, right? This just makes that data pretty. But if you wanted to go out on your own and say, okay, well, I couldn't do specifically new construction statistics from InfoSparks. Well, that's okay. You have the source. You can do new construction statistics from Realtracs. So it's knowing how to set up your searches to get that statistical information, right? So let me take that particular example. If we wanted to know if our market was just oversaturated with new construction properties, right? I can simply go right up here to my basic search page, right? Even that listing search, you can start here with your quick search if you want to, if it's a city or a zip code you're looking for. But I'm going to open up our basic listing search page. And then as I choose this search panel here to the left, that magnifying glass, I'm going to drop it down. Here's where I can pick that property class. So if I'm looking for land statistics, some people like to get a price per acre. So if I'm trying to run some comps in a particular area and my property is very unusual, it has 12 acres and the only thing I have to compare it to are 1 acre properties, then maybe you start off in land and try and find out price per acre, right? It won't be comparable acre by acre, but this gives you an idea of how much land is worth in that area. So maybe you switch to a land search, rental, commercial, anything you're looking for. I'll just focus on residential today. Now that townhouse, that condo separation, you can utilize the property subtype right here to be able to single out. I just want site built. I don't want manufacturers included in my statistics, or you can focus on the condo market only. All right, and then your status. So if you need to know how many properties closed in a certain month, naturally you need to choose closed status. Active, coming soon, and under contract showing are defaults, but you can always add or take away anything from this you need to. So if I just wanted to focus on the closed market, select closed, and then I want to see this month. So I'm going to choose start date, and then I take July, and I'll just pick July 1st. And that's what's happening this month so far, because I can't get it on those reports, but I can see in a search what's happening this month. Right. And then as we notice down below, here's where I can focus on a certain county, a certain city. I can pick more than one if I need to. Here's where I can also focus on a certain subdivision that I want stats for, a certain school zone that I want stats for. Right. Or I can go right over here on the map and I can customize those areas just like we did in InfoSpark. So you can do that mileage, the radius distance. You can do the polygon, set pins, or freehand an area on the map to get statistics for. Right now, today I'll just do something pretty basic. So let's say I'll choose the city of Brentwood today. Right. And then if I wanted to see new construction, okay, a couple of ways to do this. You could make it as easy as possible and go right down here to year built and say anything built since 2020. Anything built since 2021. If you want to do it that way, you certainly can. Don't do both of these. It's just a one or the other, but I can choose going by year built, or I can pop right down here to add criteria, which we have recently updated this, Rebecca. This is leading you further into being able to save these and migrating in auto notify. But we've made this kind of a smart search. So if I wanted, let's say, new construction, right, then I can type in here new. Right? You can see right there, it pulls the field where you can search new construction. So I check built information new, add it. Right. So that would be very similar to choosing that year built 2021. So choose how you want to do that search. Again, you probably wouldn't do both of those.
What would be the danger in doing both of them? What would you, like, how would they conflict?
All right. So if something that was built in 2021 has been sold twice now, right? So it was sold new and now it's coming back on the market as another sale, then that would affect you with your additional field here at the bottom.
And that happens. Thank you.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. All right. So let's just see here as far as new construction. I'm going to search that for Brentwood. Right now, closed this month so far, there have been 5 listings. Right? If I take that one little factor out, so I take out that new construction or that 2021 in year built, and I can see just this month alone how many closed that were new construction, which was 5, but altogether there were 52. So my new construction is not taking over the existing homes at this point in Brentwood. Now that could be different in other areas, but in Brentwood, that is not true. All right, so 5 out of 52, we could do the math. But, and you see where I'm getting my number right here at the top. All right, so things like what percentage of the market, let's say what percentage of Williamson County is Brentwood properties versus Franklin County properties, right? Or Franklin City properties. So I can start kind of focusing on different things there and get my percentage of the market. What percentage of the market is new construction? What percentage of the market is this city, right? So you can figure those numbers pretty quickly right here. Now, something else that I can do, right? So if I go back to, let me go back to that new construction piece, right? So out of new construction properties, what is their average sales price, median sales price? So for those 5 listings that it's found, I pop right over here to my more drop-down menu, the 3 dots here, and I just choose stats. And there it is. So there's my average and median square footage, bedrooms, baths, price per square foot, list price, sales price, that percentage. So a lot of those things in InfoSparks that were at the bottom that I had to pick, they're right here on this screen too.
I did not know that. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Mr. Beck. So this is great information too. I like to use that stats as just kind of that big picture overview. I'm not ready for the CMA step yet. This is just a little bit of research. I'm just digging in to see about those areas in our market. Does that help? So we could pick anything, right? Now, we could also go back to that search panel and we can focus on different types of properties as well. So if I need to look at my lakefront properties and get that type of market and what's happening. So I'm going to switch counties to Sumner County, right, where we have a high percentage of lakefront properties. And then I can now go down to that additional criteria. Remember where I used that before for new, and I type there lake. Right now I'm seeing waterfront, anything that's on the waterfront, give me statistics for those properties. So really it's just a matter of switching up your criteria, and I can always access that from here too, just kind of a quick switch while I'm already on my stats page. Switch that up, search it again, and it will change these numbers as we go. All right, now I'm going to give this a try, Karen. I know you had mentioned 7 days, 30 days, 10 days, right? So the 10-day price change, how many price changes have occurred in the last 10 or 30 days?
Right.
Not possible through a hot sheet, but the last 7 days is possible. And just to get a number, not necessarily see the listings.
Right.
So if we pop right up here, I'm going to kind of take that step, go into hot sheets. And again, we may have some other options that we can incorporate into the system, which aren't there today. But if I did, and I'm curious too, if this would change, if I saved and stamped my date, if it would let me go past that 7 days. I think it does. So if you just wanted to set up a report and check this every 30 days, it would give you that number. And that could be one that you save separately from your normal hot sheets that you run on a regular basis. But
now, do I save that in hot sheets or create that in hot sheets, or do I create it in search?
Create it in hot sheets, because that's where you see how many price changes have happened.
Okay.
In a regular search, you don't see how many price changes took place.
Okay.
Right? So think about this. I'm going to start off with 7 days. So here, if I choose 7 days, and I can make any of these changes I need to, right? So I'm going to choose, let's say, city of Franklin. Right. And then I'm going to go ahead and search that. So right now, as I begin to set this up from scratch, it's saying in the last 7 days, what are the new listings that happened in Franklin? What you're looking for is how many price changes took place. So if I pop right over here to activity, see that button? This is new in hot sheets. So if I pop open to activity, there's how many price changes took place in the last 7 days.
I've seen that little house. It looks a lot like our village logo.
Yes.
One of our old village logos, but
So that's funny,
I had no
Karen,
clue what it meant.
that you saw it as a house too. I saw it as like little apartment buildings.
Yeah,
One day when I zoomed in on it, I was like, oh, that's a graph.
it is a graph, but it looks like a house. Yeah, you're right. We're all right. How about that?
So if now I go back over here, try this. I want you to try. I have not yet done this and tried it, but you could try it at the same time. If I go back over here to save, and let's say I'm going to save this as my price change report. I'm not necessarily going to make it my default because this is maybe my every 30-day report that I run. Stamp that last search date, which today it's going to make it July 21st. So you may want to do this and save it the first day of the month or the last day of the month, however you figure that out. But I'm going to do this today. Save it as my last search start date and save that. Now, when I come back in and let's say I run that on August 21st and I click that activity button, at that point, it's going to tell me the activity from the day that I last checked it to the day that I'm checking it today.
So the key, it sounds like, is I have to date stamp it.
Right.
So then I can get my 30, because 30 days is not an option, correct?
Right. 30 days is not an option in the original search.
Okay.
It's just 7
Got it.
days.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So when you go to save it, that's the place where you can stamp it.
Okay.
Then
So
when
essentially, you
come back
just
in-
save it and stamp it, and then you can do that report if you want to do that report on whatever basis you want to do.
Right. And so the next month when you run it, you don't have to stamp it again. It automatically stamps it. So when you come in here and you run it again, it stamps it based on the last time you did the search.
Okay. And it should pull not 7 days, but from the last time
From
around.
the last time you ran it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, I remember the old hot sheets, you could timestamp it or not.
Right.
So,
And you can get the last 30 days by
Right.
filling in the date range. So
mhm.
here, I'm pretty sure you can get the last 30 days. You just have to save it and then base it off of the last day you were here.
So I can do it next month, but I can't really do it this month.
Right.
Okay.
Just got to get it started. Started with the first time you're going to run it. And then, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now, when you come back in, so let's say you've saved it. When you come back in and you go to load, it'll open up all your hot sheets that you've saved.
Okay.
So I could do my price change, pop it open. And then once it runs it here, it's stamping that date. All right. So I think that'll work for you. I was just sitting there trying to think about that as we were going through. But that one will give you that number of price changes, as well as how many new listings. Right?
Yeah, I'll still have to do the percentages, but it does.
Yes.
It's interesting. It's not what I want, but it's interesting.
It'll get you to what you want.
Well, yeah, but I can just run the report and trend graphics and get what I want.
You're right. You're right. And now that's kind of based on, do I want to pay for that or not?
Right.
So-
I don't want to, but I can't get the stat I want out of here. So,
Right. Without having to calculate it yourself.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. But I will write that one down because, and send me all of those things, Karen. Like, send me what you use trend graphics for.
Okay.
If you could get rid of that payment, right? If you didn't have
Right.
to subscribe to it, what are the things you need in Realtracs to provide to you? Send me that list because we're looking at some broker reports that we're trying.
And actually, trend graphics, I can't get the price changes. It's a different third party I use to get the price changes that we don't give agents access to. We give agents access to Trend Graphics, but we have another one that I have access to. We don't give it to the agents. And that's where we get that number.
Yes. Yeah. So if there's anything you want, let us know. I mean, obviously we have the numbers.
I know that's our, it's like, you have all the info. Just,
Yes.
can we
Just
not
put
have
it in
it?
a nice chart.
Yeah. Can we not have it?
Can you do the math for me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, because you're looking, again, when you're looking for stats and trends, you're not looking for a particular house. You're looking for just a trend.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So let us know. I'll also share your information with Keith. I don't know if you've met Keith before.
I have. Yep, I know.
Yes.
Keith.
So Keith is reaching out to brokers randomly just to get some feedback like that. What can we
Okay.
incorporate on our side to keep you from having to use third-party tools or pay for anything extra?
Mhm.
All right. All right. So back to the search. Sorry, my mind was just, whew. Do you know how to manipulate that a little bit so we can see current month, last week, last 2 weeks, right? So that's with your status here. Customize your date range. Any specific type of properties, specific areas, that new construction example, you may be looking at add criteria here to focus on those types of properties to get statistics for. So the sky's the limit right here. You can find any statistic you need. You just need to know how to use this tool right here to narrow it down.
This
One
has
other
nothing to do with what you're talking about, other than, do we not have, I thought we had at one time, you could search 55 and older.
Yes. So if you're on that search page, right there.
I couldn't find that criteria one day when I was trying to set up some hot sheets for someone.
And here's where it has been greatly updated. So it used to be that you had to know 55 and plus was under community amenities.
Right.
Now, when you go to add criteria and you click right there, 55.
Yeah, it didn't come up for me when I was creating an auto notify, but
Maybe add a plus.
I assume it's
55 up, but it still should have come up. All right, I know
well,
why.
I put an ampersand in 55 thinking that would get me whatever it was.
I know.
I didn't know.
So I do know why it wasn't coming up, and that's because you have to get 3 letters in or 3 characters in before it pops something up there. And I'd just gotten to 55, and if you'd have done a plus, it still wouldn't have come up.
Yeah, I tried 55 and I tried 55 plus, and I'm like,
All right,
well,
we may have to, I'm going to send that to development too. We may have to bump that down to 2 characters.
it's not a something I generally search for. So it was, I guess, the first time I'd really kind of looked specifically for that.
Yeah, it's under community amenities. There it is. Sorry, Rebecca.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I see that in our village exclusive Facebook stuff, people asking about 55 plus. So that's fantastic.
Yes, you can do it.
Just have to know how to do it.
You just have to know what field it's in.
That's right. You just have to know the trick. So
I've got all those up my sleeve if you ever need to know them.
Yeah, I started to call you, but it didn't matter for me. They're only interested in, honestly, the Del Webb communities because they want all the stuff.
Gotcha.
So it didn't really matter. So I just set one up, including one for their new one in Murfreesboro that they don't even have any listings yet. So
yes.
So I just did it based on the names.
Gotcha. All right. Now, one other place I was going to take you, I know we're right at our hour, but I also don't want you all to forget about the tax system if you want some statistics. So if you go to search to tax data, you can also find some pretty amazing statistics here. So if you wanted that for a particular subdivision, let's say, if I type in Lad Park, so I did % Lad here just to get Lad Park. Right. And then from here, all I have to do is just click on a property in that subdivision. It doesn't matter what property it is, just click on that one. And then right at the top where you see facts and figures, this is going to pull a whole lot of statistics for you based on that subdivision as well. So if I open that up, and not just subdivision, just things in the area within 2 miles, 1 mile, you can pick those specifics, but your sales trend, area statistics, demographics, school reports. I mean, there's so much here that you can find through facts and figures. Play with
Can you
those.
hit subdivision info?
Yeah, I just did. That's the one I picked on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I notice sometimes these big subdivisions that it wants, if I'm pulling it from a property and then I go over and click stats, it's sometimes only giving me for that section. I don't want that section. I want the whole neighborhood. What's the
Yes.
workaround on that?
Unfortunately, there's not. We've asked CRS for
Yeah.
this. Some people may just want that section, but majority of the time.
Yeah,
they
nobody
want
wants
the
that.
entire section.
Nobody wants it that way. You can go ahead.
Yeah, just tell them nobody does.
That's not how we want it.
I've tried to tell them, but that's just how their system is basically searching for those facts and figures is on that subdivision name, which is section whatever.
Also not helpful. And then I go to trend graphics. So
There you go. Yep. So it is in this particular subdivision, it's not based on sections. It's the whole thing. You can see.
yeah, it depends. Well, it depends on how they name them, frankly. Like
Yep, it is.
The
Depends on
the
their
worst
legal
one
name.
out there is West Haven. That you can't. It's,
That Fieldstone
You're-
Farms
yeah,
is another one.
Fieldstone's another terrible one.
Yes.
And, there are many, but
Yes. But this is good information. If
yeah, I find it very helpful and interesting.
yeah, and this is based on anything in that area, any sale, let's say any
Yeah.
sale, not
It's usually the
listing.
first thing I run if it's a neighborhood I'm not terribly familiar with,
Yes,
because it gives me
Yeah.
a good overview of what is in there.
right. How many properties, the appreciation, property turnaround.
Yeah, the turnaround, if you're looking for a neighborhood, if you think you might want to market to a particular neighborhood and
Yes,
that kind of thing, it's all that's helpful.
yes, which leads into the next segment possibly of prospecting.
There you go. You're welcome.
Oh, goodness. So yeah, good stuff, but don't forget the tax system. There's lots of great statistics there as well, if you need it. All right.
All right, anybody have questions for Bobby Joe? You know where to find her.
That's right. Yes. And if you don't, I can share that with you as well. It's just a copy of my business card virtually. So you can pop open the camera on your phone and it will prompt you to add me to your contacts. And I'm happy to help go through any specific examples you may have on pulling those statistics. Well, thank you so much,
Awesome.
Rebecca, for having me.
Thank you. This was fantastic. I mean, I'm sure if there for a while, Bobby Joe thought I was a stalker. But the reality is I just, anytime I see her offering something educational, even if I've already had it before, because I always learn new things, always. And I appreciate you so much, Bobby Joe, supporting Village and our entire community, actually. So you're just the best. And I hope things are going well and that you've got your new customer happiness folks up and running. So
you're getting there. They're starting
Awesome.
to teach in the month of August. Matter of fact, I'm setting them up now to start teaching their new classes in August. So
oh, great.
we're
Well,
excited.
we'll certainly look for that. Well, thank you again, Bobby Joe. We really appreciate this. This is so helpful. We did record this, so it'll be helpful for other Village folks maybe who couldn't make it today. And, so
Yeah. And I think I'm back in person there in August teaching a class as well, right, Karen?
Fantastic.
Yes, you are.
Yes. I was just looking at the calendar today. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, you all have a good rest of your day. Thanks again.
Thank you so very much.
Yay.